Good morning. Welcome to a new episode of The Check-In, the little section of the Framework podcast where we check in with one of the frameworkers at home in isolation. We're all in the same kind of weird boat at the moment. This morning we have Tamsien West. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. I'm actually really good.
I can see it. Like no one started the episode with such a big smile. That is amazing. Come on, give us your energy. Give us something good.
I'll send you some.
How has this weird period been for you?
I mean, it's weird for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I've gone through like all the stages of grief.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what all the stages of grief are, but I'm sure that I've been through all of them um, over the past couple of weeks. And I feel like you've caught me on a good day, because I feel like yesterday was like the day where everything kind of started to feel okay in a way. Not
Oh,
that everything is okay in the world, of course, it's not, but that I felt okay within myself.
yeah.
Um, and I think at the beginning, when everything sort of started to happen and projects just kept getting cancelled and work kept getting cancelled, and it was one cancellation after another, and one thing that I was excited about getting cancelled after another, it just, like, I was grieving. Like, I
Yeah.
was genuinely grieving for, I don't know, the projects that I was wanting to do that I was no longer going to do, the festivals that I wanted to go to that I was no longer going to be able to attend, and grieving for the industry, for the arts, and for my friends and everyone. And yeah, it's really sucked. It has,
Yeah.
and it's going to continue to suck for a really long time.
Yeah. Well, I think
Um,
for a little bit, it's going to suck real hard. And then it's
yeah,
like gradually going to like suck a little less and a little less and a little less. And like I think that it won't have the same frequency, but we'll start getting good news at the rate which we've had cancellations and things. So after an
yeah.
initial period, you'll start seeing like, hey, by the way, this opened again. And you got to go like, yes. So I don't know what the opposite of grief is, but like, I don't know, birth pride? I
Like
don't know.
joy or
Yeah.
elation or excitement, or I think there's a lot of that, but I think there's also like a lot of, for me anyway, being so connected with the literature side of the arts community, is just being really conscious of how much of a flow-on effect this is going to have over the next, not just months but years, as
Yeah.
publication dates get pushed back, as things like publishers are not acquiring new books, or taking on new authors, and potentially like a contraction in terms of risk, so not publishing like risky works, which often means works by marginalized authors, and things like that. And
And
that's my
usually
fear.
better work too.
Exactly, right? But like commercially risky, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a lot of my fear, is just being concerned about that and what the long-term impacts are going to be on a part of the arts industry that works very, very slowly and is not good at responding quickly to change, and really struggles with, any kind of, quick adaptation. And I've seen lots of publishers doing really great stuff, like Text Publishing have been doing some amazing stuff online and really supporting independent bookstores and things like that. But like it's still hard, and it's going
Oh,
to be, it's
yeah.
going to be a long time. So
I think it's
yeah.
going to be a very slow process, but nothing we can do about it. Like it's this like sense
No.
of, well, I don't know, that this is the way it is now. So I don't know. In every single industry, I think that some very creative changes are going to need to be applied, and it depends on the reactiveness of the industry itself, whether they can do it straight away and like keep on being on top of their own game, or just like become a dinosaur and slow down until eventually they start changing little bits to adapt. It
Yeah.
depends a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
it totally does. So, you know.
yeah. Well, like for everyone that doesn't know what you do, okay, and they probably have been like living under a rock, even like the months, the years leading up to this. Like we've met like some years ago when you first joined Framework, and now you're back
Mhm.
into the team, which was amazing.
I
It was one
am.
of the gifts of this year because I adore having you around. And yeah, like so you run an incredibly successful Instagram account, Babbling
Sure
Books.
do.
Yeah, and
Yes.
you read like a crazy person, the good crazy person. because all of those books that you review and you talk of, you actually read. So like
Yeah.
I've always been incredibly not surprised, but like impressed. I can't read one book. You can read, I don't know, how many books a year do you think you read?
About 100-ish. Yeah.
Wow, triple digit. That is crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty excited the first year, which was, I think, like 3 years ago, where I cracked like 100 books in a year, and I was very proud of myself. I would say, like, throughout my entire life, I've averaged 50 to 60 books a year. And there hasn't really been a time in my life where I haven't read. And so I think starting Babbling Books 5 years ago now, it's 5 years ago, was like a really natural evolution of the stuff that I was passionate about. Like, of course I was going to start an Instagram account talking about books, because
Of course.
I joined a book club, and that was once a month. And when you read as many books as I do, and you're as obsessed with talking about books, the idea of meeting up with a group of really cool people who've now become long-term friends to talk about books for like a couple of hours once a month was like, it was the highlight of my month, but like it wasn't enough.
I want a book club every day. One for breakfast, one for lunch, one for dinner. That's what I want.
It's literally it. And I've built up my own, essentially like this like bookish community of people that every morning, like every lunchtime, every evening, I can kind of tap into this community and like talk to them about the things that I'm passionate about, and talk to them about books. And like, that's a great privilege and a pleasure to be able to do that every day.
That's the best. That's the best. I have, like, as I've said already, like I'm not a big reader. I'm not a reader. I don't think I can define myself a person that ever reads. Like I should not, but I have many friends that do. And like one of the accounts that I always suggest is yours, because I think that like you have this immense amount of content that comes out, and there's always like fresh new ideas and titles that most people don't expect. That's the beauty of it. Like you don't go for like insanely commercial route. Like you go for like niche and interesting, and I'm a fan. You have a non-reader big fan. And I was wondering, like, have your time to read during the day changed? Do you find yourself reading more now that we're all stuck at home, or less?
I mean, it's really hard, actually. So I was working from home. I left my job in April last year, so April 2019. And so I've been working for myself from home for about a year when all of this sort of started to happen. And so I kind of had established my own routines. I just started coming into framework once a week, which was really exciting for me as a like card-carrying extrovert to like finally have some people to talk to again. Like be out in the world was really great. So I kind of had a pretty good routine. I mainly read in the evenings. I listen to audiobooks whenever I'm driving or walking, taking public transport, as a way to kind of like make sure that I'm keeping up with my schedule and keeping on top of the things that I need to be reading. So I kind of mainly read in the evenings, and I still do that. I try not to read too much in the day, because I'm the kind of person that gets completely sucked into a story. I get completely absorbed by it, and nothing will tear me away from it. I'll forget to eat. I'll forget to like do all of my work, like deadlines forgotten. And I've always been like that. In my childhood home, my parents had the rule, no reading in the mornings. And that was because I was late for school every day.
Wow, that is the best, the best thing ever. Wow, I love that.
My parents still say it to me. Even now, if, you know, my mom calls me, she'll be like, what are you doing? I'll be like, oh, I'm eating breakfast. I'm just like reading a little couple pages of my book, like just sneakily on this. And she'd be like, no reading in the mornings. I'm like, I'm 30.
Oh, that's the best. Like, I love how like this is such a good example of parents and kids. The things will always, like the relationship and the struggles will always be the same. It's only like the object that changes. For someone is video game, for someone is books, for someone is drugs. Like, oh, I told you, no drugs in the morning. I know, Mom, sorry. Come on. Like, you know. No, it's amazing. Such a cool thing. So you don't think that like your time to read changed that much?
Not really, but I have felt that my capacity to kind of engage with stories in the way that I normally engage with stories has definitely shifted. And a couple of weeks ago, I just needed some comfort. I just needed something like a warm hug. And the books that I was like, had started reading just kind of weren't doing that for me. And so I went to my shelves and I found a bunch of books that were like young adult, they were contemporary, they were written by Australian authors that I hadn't read yet. And I was just like, these are the stories I need. I need things that are designed to like be really like accessible, but also engaging and like short. Like genuinely, like, you know, they're short books. I can read them in one sitting, take me, I don't know, 2 hours or so to read them. And I can just be swept up in the world of teenage drama. And that's what I need right now. And I read 3 books in like 2 days. And I just sat there and I just read and read and read. And then about a week ago, I was just like, I've run out of these like cute, fluffy teenage books to read. And I haven't read a single page in like 6 or 7 days, which is a long time for me.
I imagine, yes.
It's a lot. But I've also been listening to audiobooks in the same time. So like I have been engaging with stories. Like I haven't completely lost all connection to myself. It's just that I know that sitting down with a book at the moment just feels like a bit of an insurmountable task. And that's okay. I think I've learned to give myself the space when I know that the stories in my head are too loud for me to engage with someone else's story, basically. And that's fine. I just need to give myself that time, and I'll pick something up tomorrow, probably.
But I love that like your experience reflects some things that I've been finding during these check-in interviews, which now apparently I'm an interviewer and a journalist. Well, like statistically speaking in framework. But seriously, everyone's been trying it really hard to find the ability to focus. It seems like one of the things that is affecting us right now is this not lack of focus, because people can focus on things. It feels like it's just you can't grab or can't get into like really deep focus. You can't just isolate your mind from everything else and dive into one thing. It feels like you're always a little bit behind. And I feel like it might be the same with you with like reading and stories, how to like get into a story. You can't find that feeling or that situation. Again, with me, it's been the same with ideas for photography. I've had so many ideas, but I can't just explore any of them. Every time I get to like a roadblock, I go like, oh, well, like this is it. Let's try with another one. I don't stay in there. It's strange.
No, I totally makes sense. And I was reading an article about that yesterday, I think, about how the way that our body responds to stresses and our mind responds to stresses is that fragmentary kind of nature. And of course it makes sense. We're all stressed. We're all under pressure, and we're all experiencing something that we don't fully understand, and we don't understand how it's going to affect us or the people that we care about, and the world. And there's a lot of uncertainty. So it makes sense that none of us really can dive into deep work. And I'm finding that with my art practice as well. Like the other part of my business is teaching creative journaling workshops and journaling, like and illustration and collage. And I'm finding that the things that I'm creating at the moment, when I am able to create, are so different in style to what I normally reach for. And I'm finding that fascinating. And I think because my work or my art practice it's commercial in some ways in that I teach it, but the things that I create, my actual like finished artworks, I don't sell them. They're my journals. They're the contents of my mind on the page. And so I have a slightly different relationship with my art practice to people who are, I guess, professional artists who then sell their work as objects. And so I feel like I'm a little bit freer to be able to just go, cool, so today I'm making monochrome collages. Never done that before. Like everything is always like filled with color. And then I went through a period like last week where I just like made heaps of black and white collage. I was like, okay. And my partner is like, I feel like I looked at this and I stared into your soul. And I was like, no, the colorful ones are the soul.
Yeah, exactly.
This is
Don't
just like
forget
a really
the other
bad.
ones. It's the rainbows, okay? It's the rainbows, not the clouds. So true. And another thing that I related with what you just said is okay, today it's like this then. I found myself, I usually have, I don't know, a baseline of personality, of how I react to things and all of that. So like I'm usually upbeat and positive. Sometimes I get a little down because I'm human like everyone else,
Of
but
course.
there is that, like, I don't know, threshold that you don't usually cross. And now, like, I feel like every day I wake up and I go like, oh, today I'm angry. Okay, well, I guess I'm angry. I go out into the living room, make myself a coffee, talk to my housemates and go like, apparently today I'm very irritable. I don't know why. I have no idea, but that's the way it is. So like I'm putting my hands forward, like letting you guys know because I have no control over this. Same as like the monochrome thing. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But experiments, I think they're one of the beautiful things that can happen during this period. Like I've spoken to many artists, like in creatives and stuff, and everyone's willingly or not going outside of what they know and what they usually create.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, I think everyone will have had some sort of time where we would have gone like, well, you know what? It doesn't matter whether it's like what I usually do or not. At this
Mm,
moment in time, I need the stimulus, I need the input, and because I can't get it from outside, I will like give it to myself. So try
yeah.
something new, and yeah, I think it's gonna breed something really interesting at some point.
I think it already is. I mean, I've loved seeing the way that like creative communities have really flourished and the way that people are supporting one another and encouraging one another's creativity. Like I value that so much, and I feel so ridiculously lucky to have already been really deeply connected to really great online communities already. And so I feel like I don't experience such an intense feeling of isolation because I'm interacting with the same people in the same way that I normally
Yeah,
interact with them on a daily basis. Like I haven't had to, for a lot of people, some people, especially my family, I'm not seeing in person as often, but
close.
like for my digital community, I'm still experiencing the interactions with them in exactly the same way. We're still having new conversations and supporting each other and sharing each other's work and lifting each other up, and that hasn't actually shifted, and in fact I think in many ways it's deepened. And you know, I've taken some of those relationships that have mainly just been talking about books or just talking about art, and now we're like watching Studio Ghibli movies together every Thursday night, and you
Yes,
know
yes.
we're having these kind of like these relationships are moving in different ways because we need different things from each other, which is really cool. I'm really enjoying that aspect of it.
Love it, love it. This is like ah, that is something that I really appreciate out of what is happening. So many friends of mine that have been running Patreons for a long,
Yes.
long time. They told me that they saw a shift in the fact that like now the big patrons, the one that were paying like the super premium fees for certain things,
Mm.
almost got to zero or like diminished immensely. But they started having so many more patrons with the lower tiers, the ones that like the proper
Yes.
support ones, right? And
Mm.
with the motivation of like, well, I had time by being at home and all of this to engage with your content more, and I'm so appreciative of what you do, and so I want to be part of your community, and I want to support what you
Yeah.
do, and I understand that, like, I don't know, I've watched Netflix for the last 72 hours, and Netflix doesn't exist without creatives of any kind in any industry, and I have a newly found appreciation for the arts, which is it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
So, well, I have to ask you, if you had to suggest for anyone looking at this,
Mhm.
one Ghibli studio movie to watch.
Okay. Well, I mean, I have a lot of favorites,
Yeah,
but
well, they're
my
all
my
amazing. Most of them, like 90%.
they're so great. But no, my all-time favorite is it's so hard because I have two favorites for different reasons. Okay, my number one favorite is Princess Mononoke. I
Yeah,
think that movie explains so much of who I am now. When you look at me loving that as like a young early teens, and like all of the themes of like amazing women in leadership and like environmental conservation and like relationship to land and to animals and like to creativity. I just feel like there's so much of me and who I've become reflected in that film that I'm just like, everyone should watch this. It's so good. And so I adore it. And also like it's visually
Oh,
beautiful. Like
stunning,
all of the
stunning.
forest like scenes, and like it's gorgeous. I think it's one of the most visually stunning of all of the Studio Ghibli films, and like they're all visually stunning.
Yeah.
And then I have to sneakily mention my second favorite, which is Howl's Moving Castle,
Yeah.
because
Big staple.
it's so good. It's so funny and it's so sweet, and it has a lot of those themes that I love as well. But it's just like the humor and the like heart of it is so beautiful, and it's based off a really terrific book by Diana Wynne Jones, who is or was, she's passed away now, but an amazing author. And I think it's a nice like little gateway for people who don't really read fantasy if they want to try out reading fantasy after they've watched the film. So
That's amazing. Well, like last little thing that I wanted to ask you, because I think we already have a little view of like your study or like your like your workroom, and it's like, as I told you, like outside the recording, it is incredible like how it feels like you styled like even your own clothing like to make sense with this beautiful background that you have. So like a bunch of books and like beautiful little things, and it's great. Is that where you work from?
It sure is. So this is the like second bedroom of the apartment where I live, which has been turned into my studio office library space, I think we could call it. Do you want to have a look around?
Yes, please. Show us.
All right. So let me take you on a magical journey. So hopefully, so this is like, so the roof in here is like very steeply sloped. Because we're up in the roof. So this is my desk where I like edit photos, kind of do any kind of writing and stuff that I'm doing. And so the wall is covered in different
illustration
artworks.
Art. Yes.
Yeah. So some of it is stuff that I've done. Some of it is I've got some of these like really beautiful like woven like tapestries from a local artist, Rachel Hine. And there's all sorts of different weird pieces. There's trying not to trip over while I do this. I absolutely love this. So this my mom got me a couple years ago. So it's a menu from a dinner on the 28th of October 1902. And so my birthday and my mom's birthday is the 28th of October.
That is
so
so
she found
cool.
that. So she was like, you should have it. So it's just like arts and crafts stuff. So I store a lot of the things that I use for my workshops when I'm teaching, journaling in here, and then there's my bookshelves. I don't know if I can get them all in.
Like I love that how like the you have like a very steep roof, but at the same time the books keep on like stacking up until the very end. Like it goes all the way up. You're using every space you can.
You have to maximize your space, 100%. Right? And then in the corner, so I have it's a bit hard to see because there's a light coming in, but my unread books are in the corner over there. I separate very strictly read and unread books.
Yep.
And then this table here, it's a little bit hard to tell because this is actually my lounge room downstairs there.
Wow, that house looks sick.
It's pretty cool. Wow. So this is my desk where I do like any of my like art and journaling. I find it really, really helpful to like separate out where I write or edit photos or do like admin work, which is this desk.
On that corner,
and where I do my creative kind of work. I just have found like the ability to physically move myself, and actually the way I've positioned the chairs, I can't see each desk when I'm sitting at one or the other, and it just helps me to like physically get into a different headspace. So yeah, that's my little space.
That's an amazing space. Like I feel like I want to work there.
It's pretty cool. There is a little bit more of it, but I won't show you. That's my partner's desk and his bookshelf is also up here as well. So we share the space, but this is my side.
Yeah, this is my area. Well, well, it's been great having you with us. Thank you so much. And like I don't know, having like your beautiful smile and your beautiful energy. As you said, like we got you in a good day, which is the best, because I think it's gonna lift a lot of people up. So I
hope so. It's a tough time. Like I think there's no avoiding the fact that this is tough for everyone. But I think there are ways to find that kind of joy and comfort in the creative things that we do. And even if you don't think of yourself as a creative person, there are so many ways that you can tap into your creativity that help you to navigate things that are difficult. So yeah.
100%. You've lifted my day personally. So
you always lift mine and cheer me up too. So it goes both ways.
Team. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you as soon as possible and to hug you as soon as possible. And I don't know, I'll ask you to invite me over for a coffee because I want to see the rest of that house one day.
You're welcome to join me anytime.
Thank you so much. You have a beautiful day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.